going to make homemade pizzas for the freezer. So basically I'm making a homemade version of frozen pizza. Today I want to go ahead and prep the sauce for it. So you need celery, onion, olive oil, Parmesan cheese, basil, sugar, oregano, house seasoning, bay leaf, fennel seed, tomato sauce, tomato paste, salt, pepper, and garlic. And of course the usual knife, cutting board, measuring spoons. So let's get started. Okay, first we're going to mince up the celery, the onion, and the garlic. And when I say mince, I mean we are going to put a fine mince on this because you want it almost like paste. What I'm going to do is mince it as fine as I can right now, put it in the pot, cook it for a little while, take it out, and mince it again. But I'll show you the mince I put on it the first time. If you don't want to do this part, pull out your food processor and run it through that. I just don't feel like it's worth all the hassle for me because it's onion, celery, and garlic. It's not like I'm doing large batches. And you will see me do double the recipe because this again is a really good freezer item. So I'm making a double batch. So let's get started. The first thing I'm gonna start with is the onion, and you need a ½ cup of finely minced onion. So I'm gonna get this onion ready to dice up and I'll be back. Okay, you can see that I have a start on the mincing process. They are small pieces, but we want them tiny pieces. So just continue to take your knife and run it back and forth. Flip the onion over and just keep going until it is tiny little pieces. I would say this probably takes 2 or 3 minutes. Excuse me, that's my Boston Terrier in the background. When I get this minced the way I like it, I'll be back. Okay, you can see that I have minced up the onion pretty finely. Like I said, once the onion, celery, and garlic are cooked a little bit, we're gonna come back and chop them up some more so they're more like a paste. So let me get the celery ready to be minced up and I'll be back. Okay, the way I mince up celery is I take and I run my knife down the rib of the celery, making 3 or 4 long stalks. And there's only about a million ways to cut up vegetables, but this is just the way I prefer to do it. And gather them up and just finely chop them up. Remember to keep your fingers out of the way. So when I get this minced up, I'll be back. Okay, here is my celery minced up. Put it in the bowl with the onions. You are gonna need a 1/4 cup of minced up celery. And I'll go ahead and post a picture of the recipe at the end of the video. Next thing we need to work on is the garlic. Okay, the recipe calls for 1 clove of garlic. I'm doubling the recipe so you will see too. And just because I love garlic, I'm putting a 3rd one in. So just like I showed you before, take the flat of your knife and just give it a good whack. Okay, when I get the garlic minced up, I'll be back. I have my garlic minced up. I'm not gonna put it in the bowl with the celery and the onion because I wanna wait a few minutes. I'm gonna sweat this out in the pan for a little bit and then add the garlic. So let me get the oil in the pan and I'll see you at the stove. Okay, in my pan, I have my onion and celery and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna sweat this out until it becomes translucent, the onion becomes translucent, and the celery is soft. While this is cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and get my seasonings together. This part should take about 4 or 5 minutes, so let's get our seasonings together. Okay, the first thing I wanna start with is the 1 teaspoon of fennel seed. And I wanna go ahead and chop this up. because these are pretty big and I don't personally like biting into a whole fennel seed. So I'm going to measure it out, put it on my cutting board. Now these will pop everywhere, so you have to kind of go slow with them. I'm not saying you have to finely mince them up, just a little more minced up than they already are. Unless biting into the whole fennel seed does not bother you, skip this part. But I prefer not to, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this and be right back. Okay, I've got my fennel seed chopped up, and the next thing I need is 1 teaspoon of basil and 1 teaspoon of oregano. And again, I'm doubling it, so I did double the fennel seed also. Here's my oregano. But you'll only need 1 teaspoon. Oregano just smells so wonderful. And it calls for 1 bay leaf, but I'm at the end of my bay leaf, so I'm gonna go ahead and use what's left right there. And I'm gonna hold off on the sugar and the parmesan until a little bit later on, and the salt and pepper. So let's go back over and check the onions and celery. Okay, celery and onions are looking good. These have cooked for probably 3 minutes on their own, so I'm gonna go ahead and add the garlic in. Now you do wanna watch this because you don't want the garlic to burn. But we need this to go probably 3 or 4 more minutes. I am gonna go ahead and turn the heat down a little bit though. So continue to watch this, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, it's actually been more like 5 more minutes, but I've turned the oven off, and you can see that everything is soft and the onion is translucent. Now, what we need to do is get this to cool off pretty quickly, because we do want to mince it up some more. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pour it out on the chopping board, because when you spread it out, it'll cool faster. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. And just leave your pan back on the stove. Spread this out so it'll cool off a little faster. And once this is down to, you know, where you can touch it without being burned, we'll be back. It should be 5 or 6 minutes. We'll be back. Okay, it's cooled off enough where I can touch it. So I'm just gonna sit here again and run the knife through it. Like I said before, if you want to skip these steps and just use your food processor to get this minced, go for it. I just don't feel like I said, I don't feel like it's worth getting the food processor out and cleaning it and putting it back up. But what you want to wind up with is almost paste, thick paste. So keep going until you get the consistency you like. And when I get to the consistency I like, I'll be back. Okay, I've got it minced up pretty finely. It's almost a paste. This really is your preference. If you don't mind a chunkier pizza sauce, don't do this, but we really do prefer a smoother pizza sauce. So what I'm gonna do is get this back in the pan, and then we're gonna add the seasoning to make it blossom a little bit before we add the tomato sauce and the tomato paste. I'll meet you back at the stove. Okay, I've got the onions, celery, garlic mixture back in the pan. I've also added our seasonings to it. What we're gonna do is let this cook for a few minutes to let the seasonings bloom. And then, let's see, I wanna add a little seasoning salt right now. We're gonna let that just mellow in the pan for a few minutes. While this is warming up, I'm gonna open up the rest of my ingredients. I'll be back. Okay, we've let the onion, celery, garlic, and herbs sit in the pan and bloom, and you know this is ready when you can smell the herbs come together. Do not walk away from this again because you don't want this to scorch. So what I'm going to do is add the tomato paste. Now I'm adding 2 cans, you will add 1. I'm going to add the tomato paste. I'm going to mix that around for a few minutes. When I get this incorporated, I'll be back. Okay, I have the tomato paste incorporated, so I'm gonna go ahead and add the tomato sauce. This is a thick pizza sauce. If you want it thinner, I suggest adding some chicken stock or water. I really like it like this. I think it goes on the pizza really smoothly. So get this mixed in. And I'm gonna go ahead right now and add the sugar and the Parmesan cheese. I need a ½ teaspoon of sugar. You will need a ½ teaspoon. I need a full teaspoon. You will need 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese. I need 4. 2, 3. Oh, I can't get this Parmesan out. And 4. So I'm gonna mix that up, and when it's fully incorporated, I'll be back. As you can see, everything is mixed up, and we need to let this simmer for 20 to 25 minutes. Turn it down on low. Do not forget to come back and stir this because it is thick and it will stick to the bottom of your pan. So just come back and stir it every couple of minutes. You can also taste it for seasoning. I don't believe it's going to need any more salt, but it may need pepper. But I'm going to give it a few minutes and I'll come back and see if it needs some pepper. Like I said, don't forget to come back and stir it. Okay, my timer has gone off. Turn that off. Turn the stove off. And I did continue to stir this as it was cooking. Now what you need to do is find your bay leaves and take them out. This could take a few minutes, so when I find my bay leaves and take them out, I will be back. Okay, here it is. Pizza sauce the way my family prefers it. I hope you come back tomorrow and join us for making homemade frozen pizzas. Thank you for watching.